The sky was fire. The sky above Berlin turned orange before the first building fell. At 0600 UTC, every satellite feed went dark. A global blackout. Moments later, they came, streaks of burning light cutting through the stratosphere. Not meteors, not natural. This was calculated obliteration. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the window of the unified command tower as the first plasma lance sliced across the skyline. The Fernsehturm burst like glass under a blowtorch. Shockwaves shattered windows for miles. Her breath caught, not in fear, but fury. Earth was under attack. No warning. No ultimatum. Just fire. Her earpiece crackled. Zahn vessels confirmed. Multiple entry points. Orbital bombardment underway across all major continents. Evacuate command, Ilara snapped. Initiate blackout protocol. Radio silence except for hardline comms. She turned from the burning skyline, barked orders, and dashed into the sublevel elevators with a half-dozen staff. They descended into the bunker just as the tower's upper floors disintegrated. The world was dying above them. 3 hours later, the bunker ceiling trembled with distant booms. Ilara sat in the emergency ops room, face lit by flickering backup lights and cracked monitors. Every feed they managed to salvage told the same story: devastation. New York was gone. Shanghai incinerated. Cairo, Sao Paulo, Tokyo reduced to charred ruin. The Zahn hadn't come to enslave or negotiate. They came to erase. On the wall, a final message from the orbital net flashed in red. Submission rejected. Extermination in progress. You were warned. Warned? Ilara clenched her fists. Earth had sent peaceful envoys to the stars, shared knowledge, extended hands. The Zahn hadn't replied. They had planned, waited, struck, and now they thought it was over. When the bunker was breached 2 days later by fire and debris, Ilara was the last to crawl out. Her face was caked in soot, uniform burned, lungs raw from smoke. Berlin no longer existed, only broken skeletons of buildings and rivers of ash. The silence was worse than the destruction. No sirens, no voices, just the low crackle of dying fires and wind pushing dust over corpses. She stumbled to what used to be the Brandenburg Gate, now half-melted steel. There, she planted a piece of cloth into the ground, torn from the flag stitched to her sleeve. It fluttered weakly in the hot wind. A single thought burned behind her eyes. This is not the end. From bunkers in Antarctica to mountain caves in Tibet, survivors gathered. Not all were soldiers, but they carried the same fire. Across the shattered globe, whispers began rising through static-choked radios and hardwired lines. We are still here. The Zahn believed the fire had finished Earth. They were wrong. It had only lit the fuse. Rage is fuel. The Arctic skies were black, lit only by the occasional shimmer of auroras and the distant glow of burning continents. Sergeant Malik Osei stood on the observation deck of Borealis Station, his breath fogging in the cold. Even this remote outpost hadn't been spared entirely. An orbital strike had shattered their comms tower, and the supply hangar was now a twisted ruin of ice and steel. But they were alive. That mattered. Borealis was built for war games, not survival. Still, its deep-buried generators, reinforced hull, and stockpiles meant Malik and the 43 survivors under his command had what most of the world didn't: time. Time to regroup. Time to plan. Time to fight back. Malik knelt beside a frozen ridge and flipped open a scavenged signal booster. He'd been rewiring the damn thing for days using Zahn parts found in the wreck of a down scout drone they'd salvaged from the ice. The alien metal hissed when sodded with human tools, but it worked, barely. He flipped the switch. Static. Then, voices. Weak, scattered, but human. Karachi fallback point, resistance cells forming. Ilara Voss alive. Western Europe region, rallying survivors. Zahn forces moving toward lunar mining facilities. Malik grinned. You hear that? He said, turning to his second-in-command. We're not alone. Across the world, pockets of humanity were doing the impossible. In the Andes, old drug cartel tunnels were converted into command centers. In Lagos, a group of hackers turned abandoned oil rigs into floating relay stations. And beneath what used to be Warsaw, Ilara Voss had begun uniting the remnants of the world's military into a single underground network, the Coalition of Ash. Their motto was simple: we are what's left. And we're enough. Using scavenged Zon technology, Coalition engineers reverse-engineered energy weapons, fused them with railgun tech, and mounted them on retrofitted drones. Deep in the Siberian forests, a Zon skirmisher ship was brought down by a guided missile crafted from tractor parts and fertilizer. The Zon didn't understand. To them, humanity should have been crippled, grieving, afraid, scattered. But they had awakened something far worse. They had awakened human fury. Weeks later, in the asteroid belt, the Coalition launched its first true offensive. A strike team, led by Malik and equipped with retooled atmospheric suits and pulse rifles, boarded a Zon resupply station orbiting Ceres. They fought room by room, breathing through cracked visors and firing makeshift weapons that sparked and jammed, but still killed. When the station was secure, Malik activated the long-range comms relay. He didn't send a threat, just coordinates and one line of text. Earth lives. The message echoed across star lanes. Some Zon warlords scoffed. Others paused. But Ilara Voss, watching from a bunker beneath shattered Rome, allowed herself a thin, grim smile. The war had begun. The hunt turns. The Moonvet Rex 4 was supposed to be untouchable. Nestled in Zon-controlled space, it held a key relay outpost that supplied half their outer sector fleet. Surrounded by automated defense grids and garrisoned by over 1,000 Zon troopers, it had never seen war, only obedience. That changed in 13 minutes. The human warship Resolute, forged from a wrecked orbital platform and fueled by hybrid engines, dropped out of slipspace cloaked in electromagnetic noise. Its hull was jagged and mismatched, a Frankenstein of steel and alien alloys, but it was fast, mean, and angry. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge in silence, eyes locked on the glowing surface of Vet Rex 4. Her voice was steady as she gave the command. Release the hammer. 6 stealth pods, each packed with Coalition troops, detached and hurtled toward the surface. Among them was Sergeant Malik Osei, now battle-hardened and grim, leading what was unofficially known as Ash Team 1. Their orders were simple: disable defenses, kill command, hold the platform. The pods slammed into the frozen surface like meteors. Within moments, humans erupted from the craters, guns blazing, blades swinging, roaring like demons born of fire and vengeance. Inside the Vetrex control hub, alarms screamed. Zon officers barked confused orders, struggling to respond to an enemy they hadn't even detected until bodies hit the walls. The humans fought with brutal precision. No formations, no hesitation, just relentless assault. They used corridors as choke points, jammed enemy scanners with scrap code viruses, and flooded vents with freezing gas to flush enemies from cover. By the time Zon reinforcements arrived, the command center was already under human control, and Malik was standing on the central platform, holding a captured Zon commander by the throat. No more running, Malik growled, slamming the alien down. Above, Resolute began orbital bombardment of Zon response ships, tearing them apart with scavenged plasma batteries. News of Vetrex's fall shattered the illusion of Zon supremacy. For centuries, they had been the predators. Now they were prey. Across the galaxy, human raids multiplied. Zon worlds once considered safe were hit with terrifying frequency. Shrines were burned. Supply convoys vanished. Warlords found their palaces breached by saboteurs in patched armor, their dying moments recorded and broadcast by human operatives. On the war-torn colony of Drazel 9, the phrase "we remember Earth" was found scorched into a palace wall, written in the Zon language, using a fusion torch. Even the Zon began to whisper it. Ashwalkers, flame-blooded deathworlders, the ghosts of a burned planet. On board Resolute, Ilara watched reports pour in. Casualties were high, supplies low, but morale unbreakable. They tried to erase us, she said, turning to her officers. Now we'll erase their empire. She gave the order. Next target, Zon Prime. Zon Prime burns. The skies above Zon Prime blazed red with war. From orbit, the once glorious jewel of the Dominion shimmered with city lights and hovering spires. But now those lights flickered in panic. Above, humanity's fleet, patched together from wreckage, stolen tech, and sheer will, had arrived. Not to negotiate, not to threaten, to finish what the Zan started. Ilara Voss stood at the helm of the Resolute, flanked by 20 coalition warships, each painted with the names of fallen cities: New Nagasaki, Mumbai Reborn, Kinshasa Flame, Chicago Rising. Their weapons were hot. Their mission was simple. Begin the assault, Ilara ordered. In perfect, brutal coordination, the fleet descended. Zan defense satellites activated, belching plasma beams across the void. But they were too late. Humanity's ships moved like ghosts, dodging fire, returning it with devastating precision. Missiles screamed through the upper atmosphere. Railguns fired tungsten rods into orbital platforms. Drop pods punched through clouds, delivering the ash teams. On the surface, panic reigned. The Zan had never seen war come home. Their civilians screamed in disbelief. Their soldiers scattered. Malik Osei's pod struck the Capitol Plaza with thunder. His boots hit the ground, and he moved like a force of nature, pulse rifle flashing, smoke trailing his squad. They advanced street by street, unstoppable. "This is for Lagos," one soldier spat as she brought down a Zan tank with a homemade EMP mine. "For my daughter," whispered another, detonating a charge under a command post. Ilara's pod landed on the steps of the Dominion Tower, the imperial palace that once issued Earth's death sentence. Inside, the last of the Zan Council waited, trembling, their armor ceremonial and useless. One elder tried to plead in broken Terran dialect. "We did not know your kind would endure." Ilara raised her weapon but paused. "Not mercy, clarity. You burned our world, so we built weapons from your wreckage and resolve from your ashes." She holstered her gun and walked to the central console. A single command sent coordinates to the fleet above. "Burn everything but this tower." From space, the bombardment began. Towers toppled. Fires spread. Zan Prime became a mirror of what Earth had once suffered. Craters where homes had been. Silence where songs once played. When it was over, only the Dominion Tower remained, scarred, blackened, standing alone in a wasteland. Inside, Ilara activated a galaxy-wide transmission. Her face appeared on every channel, in every language. "This is what happens when you burn Earth." Behind her, the torn flag of Earth waved in the breeze, stitched from the scraps of 100 uniforms. In the weeks that followed, Zan territory collapsed. Some systems surrendered outright. Others fled beyond charted space. And in their place, humanity rose, not just as survivors, but as the architects of a new order. They didn't demand tribute, only remembrance. A monument was erected on the ruins of Berlin and on Zan Prime. 2 hands, one human, one alien, burned but unbroken, reaching toward the stars. Because Earth had been burned, and the galaxy would never forget the mistake.